Hey, T, what's up? I'm Andrew.
And I'm Travis.
Well, big news in the NBA as, there's been a lot of offseason trades, a lot of stars moving to different teams this offseason. And this one kind of came out of nowhere as, we thought Melo, he might be going to the Houston Rockets potentially. And turns out Oklahoma City, again, making a splash move, trading for Carmelo Anthony. This is a huge move for both teams as the Knicks, they finally get rid of Carmelo Anthony, who they wanted to get rid of for such a long time. And just going over the details of this trade here. So the Carmelo Anthony, he's going to the Oklahoma City Thunder in exchange for Enes Kanter, Doug McDermott, and a 2018 second-round pick, which is originally owned by the Chicago Bulls.
Well, first off, I want to say what a great offseason for the Oklahoma City Thunder, adding the talents of Carmelo Anthony and Paul George for pennies on the dollar. I mean, Carmelo Anthony is a guy that goes out and scores over 20 points a game. He was an all-star when he's healthy. To only give up Enes Kanter, Doug McDermott, and a 2018 second-round pick, what a steal for the Thunder.
Yeah, it's really, let's just go into our first segment here about, who won this trade. It's really tough to not like what the Thunder are doing here because, my only issue is with this is Russell Westbrook, Paul George, and Carmelo Anthony. These are three guys that need the ball in their hands. But like you said, the Thunder really haven't given up anything, in terms of long-term assets to really make this seem like a bad trade, even if it doesn't work out for them. I just like what they're doing here with this offseason.
Yeah, I think they got to be the winners of the offseason so far. They're definitely in a win now. They're pushing all their chips into the middle. And for me, I think obviously logic says it's going to take some time for these three players to coexist. But you also have to remember they're all pretty familiar with each other. They've all played for USA Basketball. Some of them have played on the same team together. So I think it's going to be a little bit quicker adjustment. But I think overall the Thunder have to win the trade. They didn't give up any big assets. And looking at the Knicks got, Doug McDermott really hasn't panned out that well in the NBA. Enes Kanter, the New York, they already got Kristaps Porzingis. So I'm not sure where Enes Kanter is going to fit in that. And just to give up a 2018 second-round pick, not hurting their longevity, I think the Thunder won this trade for sure.
Yeah, well, I do think the Thunder won this trade overall. I don't think it's necessarily a terrible trade for the New York Knicks because, everyone knew that they're trying to get rid of Carmelo Anthony because of the no trade clause. No team was going to give up really that much for him. So if the Knicks were able to get anything out of this, I think it was a positive for them. Really can continue that rebuild for them. We talk about Enes Kanter. They've already have Kristaps Porzingis there. Kristaps Porzingis more of an athletic, stretch four, finesse type of big. Enes Kanter is more of a banger down low. He's a big physical guy. He's going to get a lot of rebounds. He's more of an offensive presence. Kristaps Porzingis can kind of be more of a rim protector on defense for them. So I think they kind of complement each other a little bit pretty well. Doug McDermott, here's what he is at this point. He's a three-point specialist off the bench. He's not going to be necessarily, a foundational piece for your team. He's more of a fringe role player at this point. And, the second-round pick, it's going to be a high second-round pick because the Bulls are going to be straight up awful this year. And, speaking of the Bulls, this just makes scar packs look terrible for the Chicago Bulls because they gave up Doug McDermott in the second-round pick for Cameron Payne. And Thunder used Doug McDermott in the second-round pick to get Carmelo Anthony. So, think about that how you will. That's just awful.
Yeah, this is just terrible things to hear if you're a Bulls fan. But I have to ask you one question after this trade is, what do you think Melo's legacy is in New York?
Yeah, well, Carmelo's legacy is, I don't know. It's tough to say. Obviously, we're not New Yorkers. We're not New York fans, so it's obviously tough for us. But, for me, it's got to be a little bit more of the negative side because he didn't really live up to the promises that he had where he was supposed to bring the Knicks back into a championship contending franchise, and that just never panned out for them. Amari Stoudemire, when they originally got traded there, he got hurt pretty much right away once Carmelo got there, and things started to go downhill once that happened. But, Carmelo Anthony was supposed to be the man from New York, and, he kind of just had more of his postseason failures. And, over the last few years, the Knicks have been just straight up awful all around. And, a lot of that has to do with the organization just being a really dysfunctional franchise led by, Chris Dolan, their owner, and Phil Jackson as their GM. But some of that has to go on Carmelo Anthony because, he was their superstar for such a long time.
Yeah, for me, ultimately, I think it's got to be a huge disappointment. I feel like there's a lot more headaches during the Carmelo era in New York than there was positives. And did they even make the Eastern Conference Finals when he was on the Knicks?
I think the
No?
first game was second round, I think.
Yeah, like to not even make it to one series away from the championship when they expected him to bring them back to the NBA Finals, and just lots of distractions, and ultimately he didn't get it done. So, there was the whole thing with Linsanity, and he didn't like how Jeremy Lin was kind of taking over the team. And I think just if you ask a New Yorker, what's your thoughts on Carmelo Anthony, it's just got to be disappointment in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, again, we're not New Yorkers here, so obviously New Yorkers, if you're watching this video, New York Knicks fans, let us know in the comment section below what you think about Carmelo's legacy here particularly, because we want to hear what you guys think about this. But going back to the Thunder here, before we close out, obviously, number one thing that goes on my mind when you hear about this trade was, man, the Thunder are really going after the Warriors here to see if they can kind of put some pressure on them and maybe get to a NBA Finals here.
Yeah, definitely. I think this puts them a little bit closer. And looking, the West is just so stacked right now.
Yeah.
I think with adding Carmelo Anthony, I think the Thunder, I don't think they're going to get the number one.
No.
But I think they could make it close, number 2 or number 3 in the West. Now, maybe San Antonio holds on to the number 2 spot. But I think this ultimately puts them ahead of Houston, who is also trying to get Carmelo Anthony. So I think, there's only 2 other teams that really stand in the Thunder's way to get to the NBA Finals in the West. And I think this is a good move, even if it's like a 1-year rental for this big 3. Plus, they got Steven Adams, who is a great defensive center. He's kind of the heart and soul on defense, and he's a tough guy. So having 3, great offensive players along with Steven Adams, I think that's really good.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I'm just not sure if it puts them, at the Warriors level. It gets them a lot closer for sure. And they're definitely in that top 4, like we said, the Warriors, Spurs, Houston, Thunder. I mean, other than the Warriors being at the very top, obviously still, I think any of those other 3 teams you can put in any order, and I can see it going either way. But it's definitely very close. Like you said, the Western Conference is absolutely loaded right now. There's like 10 to 12 teams that I could see being playoff teams and like really good playoff teams. Like it's stacked right now. And for the Thunder here, again, this could be a 1-year rental because Russell Westbrook and Paul George, they both could leave after this season if it doesn't go, quite how they want it to go, or if they just want to go to LA or something like that. So that'll be kind of interesting to see. But, I just like the Thunder have the initiative to say, screw it. We have these guys on 1-year deals. Let's see if we can win it now and try and pressure this Warriors team. But you know what? I mean, this Warriors team is just too stacked right now for me to see any team really, have seen this move kind of get the Thunder at their level right now.
Yeah, we talked about potentially top 4 teams in the West, and we didn't even mention Minnesota, who has Jimmy Butler, Karl Anthony Towns, and Wiggins. So that just shows how stacked the West is. But I think what this trade completely signifies is Carmelo Anthony was not going to play basketball in New York this fall and winter. He made that clear by, he wanted to go to Houston. They couldn't get a trade done. He's like, all right, I'll take some other teams off my no trade list. Ends up going to the Thunder. I mean, this is a huge shakeup in the NBA, and it's going to make watching this season a lot more interesting.
Yeah, especially this Western Conference. I mean, it's going to be a bloodbath in those playoffs for that, Western Conference. It's not going to be easy even for the Warriors. It's going to be very difficult to get to the NBA Finals, and it just makes the NBA a lot more fun to watch. I mean, we all thought when Kevin Durant went to the Warriors that it would be easy for the next few years, the Warriors basically being guaranteed a championship. And I just love it that these teams now are not sitting on their hands here. They're saying, you know what, screw it. We're going to go for this championship. We're going to try and win this thing too. The Warriors, we're just not going to give it to them. So I love the initiative for the Thunder here. Going out and getting Carmelo Anthony. Even though he's a little bit over the hill, maybe he doesn't, quite gel with Russell Westbrook and Paul George. I think the potential here is very high, and the Thunder could be a very good, interesting team going forward this season.
Yeah, well, that's our thoughts on this Carmelo Anthony trade to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Please let us know what you think in the comments below. It's definitely opened up a lot of discussions going to the NBA season. Lots of interesting things to talk about. So, if you like what you saw, leave a like, subscribe, and thank you guys so much for watching.
Yep. Thanks, guys.